Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the academic procession and the Chancellor.
I declare that the 555th Convocation of McMaster University for the conferring of degrees is now in session.
Please be seated. Good morning to you all. I am Dr. David Wilkinson, Provost and Vice President Academic of the University. This morning I have the great pleasure of acting as your Master of Ceremonies and of welcoming you, graduands and guests, to this Convocation ceremony. I would also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge some of the notable leaders joining me on the stage today. Dr. Suzanne Labarge, our Chancellor, Dr. Patrick Deane, President and Vice Chancellor, Mr. Sean Van Coonet, Associate Vice President, Students and Learning and Dean of Students, Dr. Jeremy Hurley, Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences, Associate Deans, Directors, Chairs, faculty members, and honored guests. Before we start our formal program, may I first ask everyone in the hall to switch off any electronic device that may ring or beep during the ceremony. I would now like to call upon our Chancellor, Dr. Suzanne Labarge, to make her own welcoming remarks.
Welcome, honored guests, staff, faculty, families, friends, and most importantly, graduands. This is an exciting day for all of you who are graduating today, as well as for all those people who have supported you and stood behind you, and in many cases have had a key role in you being here today. You have achieved a great deal to get here, and you should all be very proud of your success and looking forward to what the future might bring. Congratulations, and enjoy the ceremony.
I would like to welcome Dr. Patrick Deane, President and Vice Chancellor, to the podium, who will be presenting the honorary degree recipient.
Chancellor Labarge, By the authority of the Senate of McMaster University, I have the honor to present Richard W. Hill, Sr. A member of the Beaver clan of the Tuscarora Nation and a leading community-based knowledge keeper and researcher at Six Nations of the Grand River, Richard W. Hill, Sr. has contributed immensely to the resurgence of Haudenosaunee Indigenous knowledge at the local and international levels. One of the cornerstones of that work has been his leadership in the multi-decade campaign to repatriate wampum to the original Haudenosaunee owners and makers. This process and Mr. Hill's contributions to it have been central to regenerating what people of the Six Nations Confederacy call the good mind. Mr. Hill is currently the Senior Project Coordinator at the Deahage Indigenous Knowledge Center at Six Nations Polytechnic. The center guides research, heritage, language preservation, elder-guided translations of historic documents, teacher training, workshops, and lectures in partnership with other teaching institutions, including McMaster. Mr. Hill is personally involved in each of these activities and brings a strong track record of personal experience to his role. He was previously the Cultural Ecological Coordinator for the Joint Stewardship Board that connected the City of Hamilton and the Haudenosaunee Council of Chiefs on the sensitive Red Hill Valley project. For 3 years, he was the Assistant Director for Public Programs and Special Assistant to the Director at the National Museum of the American Indian, Smithsonian Institution, where he built on his experience as the Museum Director of the Institute of American Indian Arts in New Mexico. Mr. Hill has also worked in key cultural positions as the Director of the Haudenosaunee Resource Center in Basin, New York, as Project Manager of the Indian Arts Center for the Department of Indian and Northern Affairs, and as Museum Director for the Native American Center for the Living Arts in Niagara Falls, New York. For more than 4 decades, Mr. Hill has taught a diverse range of subjects, from Indigenous art to ecology and health, at a list of institutions that includes the Buffalo North American Indian Cultural Center, the Buffalo Museum of Science, the Hartford School of Art, the First Nations Technical Institute, Mohawk College, and frequently McMaster University. He is also an in-demand public speaker who gives dozens of talks a year to organizations ranging from the Ontario College of Teachers to the Nuclear Waste Industry Board. His audiences have included school children, scholars, prime ministers, and governor generals. Mr. Hill is also a prolific researcher and writer who has contributed to and edited publications, including Turtle Native American Center for Living Arts Quarterly, Indian Art Sketchbook, and the Niagara Gazette. As a volunteer, Mr. Hill is a member of the advisory board for the Center for Native People and the Environment at the State University of New York College of Environmental Science and Forestry, and a consultant with Healthy Roots, the Homegrown Goodness Initiative. Previously, he was a member of the 1812 Legacy Committee, the chairperson of the Six Nations Legacy Consortium, a member of the Haudenosaunee Peacebuilding Project Planning Committee, and the chairperson of the Haudenosaunee Standing Committee on Burial Rules and Regulations. Chancellor Labarge, Richard W. Hill Sr., has crafted a diverse and varied career united by his commitment to social justice, Indigenous culture and history, art and education. For these contributions, I ask that you confer upon Mr. Hill the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa. Thank you, Chancellor. Come up behind you.
Richard W. Hill, Sr., by the authority of McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa in McMaster University with all the rights and privileges pertaining to that degree. Congratulations. And now we'll get you to sign over here. I would now like to invite Dr. Hill to deliver the convocation address.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here. I'll have to tell you, I'm a little nervous. Once I read the Jesuit Relations, I got really scared of people in black robes. But in this case, maybe this is a form of our own healing. I never thought one day I'd wear a robe like this. But I wanted to share some ideas with you about what I've been thinking about the future of Canada. You know, when you hear the word reconciliation, we often think about an auditor who's reconciling the books about profit and loss, usually for a business kind of accounting, where did the money go? And the same is kind of true with Canada. Canada has to do this reconciliation with the Indigenous people. It's a financial reconciliation over some missing property, our homes, and over our lost assets, money that we agreed to share. But I'm encouraged by the fact that Canada seems to be rethinking its responsibility in order to reconcile these matters properly. There's been an announcement that we're going to try our best to implement all of the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So I ask you, how well do you know these recommendations? And you really should think about them because you know they affect all of us. They're going to affect all of us in profound ways. I dare say that this is probably going to be the most significant change to Canadian identity and Canadian culture that you're going to witness in your lifetime. And actually, you have to do more than witness it. So I encourage you to think about your personal role in reconciliation. I know today you're celebrating the great joy of successfully completing this phase of your education, and I congratulate you on that. You've done yourself and your family quite an honor striving to succeed. But we have to remember that we still carry at least two burdens of responsibility. We have an obligation to my ancestors, the people who walked this land first and who suffered horrible trauma at the hands of Canadians. Their trauma has stained this land, and it's now fallen upon you, your generation, to wipe that stain clean once and for all. And we also have a second burden, and that's our responsibility to future generations who walk this land. Who really wants to see the suffering continue? Who really wants to see Indigenous people disappear from this land? You have a unique opportunity to bring justice and fairness to all of these matters through your own personal actions. So some of you may say, well, why me? I didn't make this mess. However, it was your relatives, your government, your churches, your schools that did this on behalf of you. You are the intended beneficiaries of colonization. The people of the past could not or would not bring justice to these matters. Today, though, we've all become aware of what took place in this land. And we can no longer hide behind our ignorance or even our shame. We have to help do the right thing. So right now, you can enjoy very high ideals and lofty ambitions and be optimistic about your future. But I just ask you to think, just for a little while, for the people who are still imprisoned by poverty and neglect and ignorance. We all carry a moral responsibility to heal the relationships between our peoples so that at the time you get to be my age and you begin to lose both your teeth and your hair at an alarming rate, you'll see a different kind of Canada. It will be a place where justice, honor, and prosperity blossom in the day-to-day lives of the people living in this land. But it starts with reciprocity. Reciprocity, you know, it's a state of being in which we take action to share our knowledges and our influences, and that's what we've begun to do. And we do this so that we become dependent on each other in a good way. Our great law of peace, the thing that formed the government of the Haudenosaunee, the people of the Longhouse, was founded on three principles. And just think about these for a moment. By using what we call the good mind. A good mind is something that administers justice fairly, treats everybody equally, and as if we're all members of the same family. and that we build strength through unity of our minds, because all minds working towards peace become very strong, and that strength will create everlasting peace. That was the hope that was in this land before your ancestors arrived, and I believe it's still a hope for the future. But reciprocity requires a mutual exchange of ideas and a balancing of privileges. We need to go beyond reconciliation with our past. We need to wipe our tears caused by the pain of the past. And we both have those tears to deal with. If we wipe our tears, we're able to see each other as equals once and for all. We need to clear our ears from the centuries of broken promises. And these broken promises make it very hard to trust one another. But we need to find a way to do that. We need to clear our throats so that we can speak honestly and earnestly without viciousness or duplicity. By working together as equal partners in our mutual destiny, we can move away from guilt and suffering into a new era of joint prosperity for all of us. So you see, I also have high ideals and lofty ambitions. But I also have great faith in your generation. I don't know why, of all generations, of all of the times I've taught at universities, it just seems like now is we're at an important moment in our history. So I have great faith that you can get this done. And I ask you to have the courage to stop hate speech and racism, to stop the exploitation of the earth so the future generations will live in a healthy place, and to honor the treaties made on behalf of you so that you can stand honorably with the indigenous people of this land. And if you do this, I guarantee that someday you're going to hear an honor song coming from our people. And then maybe then we can enjoy it in this huge round dance where we link our arms together and support one another, move in harmony with the heartbeat of the Mother Earth, and live as creation intended us to be. That would be a great, probably the most glorious day in the history of Canada. But I believe not only do you have the responsibility, but I feel you also have the desire to make this happen. So think about that as you venture forth in your life, as you go about doing the things that you want to do. Sooner or later, you're going to engage with Indigenous people if you live in Canada. And hopefully that engagement will be different than what's happened in the past. So I charge you with the responsibility to think about these things, carry that forward, celebrate for a little while your success here, but always remember that this land has a spirit to it. And that spirit is calling to us, asking for you to engage in it. And I think in the end, we'll all become more complete human beings. So I tell you, just like I heard in the movies, make it so. You're the ones that can do that, and may the force be with you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hill. You've given us a lot of things to think about, and hopefully that we will take to heart as we move forward. We are delighted that you are now a member of the McMaster community. Congratulations.
Dr. Deane will now come forward to present the graduands to our Chancellor for admission to their degrees.
Will the graduands please stand? Madam Chancellor, on behalf of McMaster University Senate, I present to you these candidates in order that you may confer the appropriate degrees upon them, and I bear witness that they are worthy and suitable. May I also request that you confer the appropriate degrees in absentia upon all those candidates who have successfully completed the required course of study, but who are not present.
Graduands, by my authority and that of the McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to admit those before me today and those in absentia to their individual degrees in McMaster University with all of the rights and privileges pertaining to those degrees. My sincere congratulations to you all. Please be seated.
Graduates, I now ask each of you to join me on stage so that the Chancellor and I may welcome you to the McMaster community of scholars.
Ladies and gentlemen, so that each graduate's name may be heard, it would be appreciated if during the presentation of the graduands, you would hold your collective applause to the end of each degree category. Thank you. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts Honors. Patricia Rika Dolan Dolan Abe Abe. Megan Louise Acton. Victoria Rose Adshade. Jacqueline Ann Agg. Mark Agresta. Amrit Bani Aluwalia. Olamiposi Omobolade Akin Femiwa. Sayaka Akiyama. Oreziorene Akporuno. Jessica Lynn Alcock. Philip Joseph Alfano. Abigail Kathleen Amos. Claudia Marcela Apricio. Julian Asari O'Connor. Alia Acha. Samantha Elizabeth Ball. Elizabeth Ann Barber. Jessica Barlas. Jacob Barliak. Elizabeth Joanne Barna. Matthew John Bassett. Brittany Ann Bates. Christine Louise Beach. Ashley Olivia Belluomini. Loretta Barisha. Jasmine Bhatti. Freya Paresh Beda. Catherine Michelle Lee Bocas. Elisa Marie Bozzelli. Sarah Brunt. Caitlin Haley Buhai. Jessica Marie Buliao. Tyler Caldas. Judicia Shadaye Campbell Davis. Christina Dawn Carrier. Melissa Ashley Caruso. Christine Gale Ramos Cervania. Nancy Julissa Chamale. Julia Chang. Hira Zafar Chowdhury. Rabia Chowdhury. Marlena Chiarelli. Sarah Kathleen Christensen. Abigail Ann Sharazan. Ognian Chorich. Lauren Rachel Crampton, Alexa Lee Crerar. Gabriela Saigan. Maria Julia D'Alessandro. Brittany Carey Darpino. Alec William Dare. Delane DeCramer. Laura Ann DeHole. Christina Della Pietra. Alyssa Marie De Cesare. Pietro Di Diodato. Adrian Celine Di Leonardo. Haley Dawn Dixon. Leah Agnes Donaldson. Pavel Radu Dragos. Heather Marie Dumitru. Mary Rosella Duncan. Sarah Jin. Jessica Lynn Earhart. Stephen Erickson. Lauren Shelby Evans. Zanab Fayyaz. Heather Marie Ferguson. Melissa Faith Fox. Adam Freitas. Renate Fries. Megan Garrett. Jill Garoviglio. Elena Cristina Gapto. Christopher Adam Gazzola. Sarah Elizabeth Gandur. Ashley Elizabeth Gibson. Amara Tessa Gill. Samantha Gillespie. Kelly Renee Gordon. Melissa Diane Granda. Josen Guerra. Andrea Gutierrez. Khadija Hamidou. Dara Krista Hamilton. Sarah Haroun. Brooke Harrison. Caitlin Marie Harrison. Raha Hassan. Kristen Ann Hazel. Ashlyn Ann Hill. Samantha Shirley Hunt. Sarah Nicole Hurgit. Anum Ilyas. Megan Kathleen Innes. Mitchell Jerome Ishkula. Sahar Arif Jamal. Laura Ann Jambrovich. Jessica Lorraine Jennison. Sarah Johnstone. Amelin Jose Joseph. Stephanie Alexandra Karam. Lauren Karras. Ravina Karwal. Sobia Kashani. Amik Kaur. Lynn Audrey Kelly. Erin Elizabeth Keneally. Shaneka Khan. Ifat Tasneem Kantker. Kyunghyun Ruth Kim. Mary Kimamo. Laura Elizabeth King. Simon John Coolidge. Carly Catherine Kucharenka. Beatrice Oluwajoba Kupulate. Jordan Christopher Kyle. Natalie Carol Labesh. Sarah Labrec. Alyssa Nicole Lampert. Sol Lampert. Vanessa Lokyi Lau. Stephanie Laban. Jenny Lee. Allison Chungyan Lee. Cassandra Long. Michelle Jane Lovendal. Taylor Michelle Lundy. Kate Luo. Agatha Maciaszek. Jessica Louise McPherson. Brianne Christine Martin. Lauren Nicole Mastro Luisi. Anika Mateen. Alexia Stephanie Mateos. Aliyah Victoria McCallum. Charles William Kirkpatrick McCormick. Shina Christine McDonald. Michelle Diane McGinnis. Jenna Mae McHugh. Haley Valentina Medeiros. Amanda Sarai Marino. Jessica Messina. Vanessa Mignelli. Elena Milazzo. Omar Tariq Mirza. Caitlin Marie Mitchell. Nicole Ann Molinaro. Olivia Christine Muriopoulos. Angelica Muchik. Nadia Javaria Nadim. Elise Alexandra Nagy. Nguyen Rose Nguyen. Jennifer Emily Nielsen. Caitlin Jo Owen. Joseph Palladino. Taylor Alyssa Pascuzzi. Ashley Patterson. Dana Margaret Peddle. Ruja Pastoric. Natalie Petrosi. Jennifer Lynn Petton. Dylan Phoenix. Joseph Claude Primo. Alicia Polano. Holly Pendura. Courtney Quigg. Ramani Rabindranath. Samantha Nicole Rodasau. Zora Ramati. Nina Kaur Rakra. Deepak Randhawa. Stephanie Sauer Raskin. Monica Ann Regan. Justine Gabrielle Reon. Andrew Javan Reyes. Kaylee Mae Robbins. Samantha Dawn Roberts. Brittany Diane Robinson. Alina Dominique Rodriguez. Celia Rossi. Emily Rowe. Marina Sadik. Ramisa Mushtari Saleh. Mandip Samra Sahota. Emily Jane Sansom. Hillary Christina Schlacht. Rachel Plunkett Schließman. Rylan Elizabeth Shawera. Jasmine Sihota. Erica Ann Silva. Bublin Singh. Margarita Skachova. Alexandra Elzbieta Skrzat. Carly Elizabeth Smith. Natalie Elizabeth Somerville. Natalie Sorbara. Brittany Nicole Stark. Christopher Stewart. Audrey Robin Tan. Nabila Tassir. Amanda Daiga Taurens. Rhea Tandani. Caroline Mary Tenganat. Karatiga Tevianesan. Jasmine Tong. Lauren Trafford. Dixon Tse. Saskia Ruth Van Aragon. Derek James Van Scheppen. Ashley Elizabeth Van Sulacom. Trina Nicole Vankas. Emily Vandehey. Natasha Jean Vanderveld. Elvira Vincent de Paul. Linda Tanya Tam Bu. Alicia Carlene Wagner. Julia Rose Walker. Devin Watts. Samantha Colleen White. Amanda Willing. Victoria Wogiren. Monica Wood. Riley Nicole Wood. Tanisha Tatiana Woods. Sharisa Woon Sam. Sarah Ann Wright. Andrea Elizabeth Worcester. Shin Ye Yoon. Carolina Zayach. Anika Zaman. Laura Teresa Zini. Nicole Marie Zuvku. One more? Wait, we have one more. One more. Cannot be forgotten. Let's go. Nikolina Ivana Zubrinic. Okay. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Social Work. Azelia Clara Antienza. Christina Bendo. Miruna Cristiana Birsan. Katrina Buma. Krista Nicole Carlin. Sabrina Kathleen Cochran. Cristia Lorena Cornejo Canales. Megan Elizabeth Fox. Chelsea Brianne Gabriele. David James Grant. Erica Hurlovich. Christopher Hickey. Wanda Alice Joyce Jameson. Marina Kennedy. Tanya Laura Lejambe. Diane Shiyang Liu. Nabila Marzouk. Kathleen McLean. Anissa Rabia Mohammed. Michele Nazas Montenegro. Monique Pitt. Madison Robin Salmon. Kirsten Mercedes Schreck. Fatma Shibli. Emily Victoria Smith. Amanda Lauren Spicker. Maria Cristina Toppazzini. Okay. Melissa Elaine Truelove. Yes, sir. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts. Julie Buffett. Social? I'm sorry, Bachelor of Social Work. Julie Buffett. I didn't have the right prompt. Okay. Bachelor of Social Work. Pansy Rain Byrne. Rachel Derry. Anna Roberta Hoover. And Andrea Cara Ingraham. Cindy Isabel Jameson. Justin Ryan Johnstone. Brianne Lee Lemaitre. Megan Lee McLaughlin. Georgina Rose McMahon. Cynthia Elaine McPherson. Petra Alexandra Popescu Moody. Michelle Argentina Quinteros. Jennifer Alice Vassar. Kelsey Williams. That was our Bachelors of Social Work. Now, Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts. Murwa Samwal Abbas. Caitlin Ellington. Nicole Margaret Viola Allman. Petra Andic. Rabia Anjum. Nur al-Hudi Arabi. Braden William Atkinson. Frank Paul Basilini. Molly Beaton. Shannon Nicole Bone. Dana Catherine Bowman. Megan Nicole Bradley. Lucas Perry Bruzzese. Kristen Emma Buchanan. Alana Byrne. Manuel Cabral. Laura Campbell. Thomas Clement. Andrew Dominic Curci. Kayshawn Davis Reynolds. Jessica Nicole Donat. Grant Raymond Edwards. Alexia Jillian Emsley. Desmond Sean Ng. Richard Taylor Forbes. Lindsay Victoria Gosnick. Darcy Galbraith. Laura Patricia Gammon. Jacqueline Gimza. Natalie Marie Gentile. Sebastian Gladman Saltarelli. Rosalind Daniela Harach. Jessica Hart. Alexander Craig Hill. Deborah Hogan. Sahar Jaber. Justine Louise Jamandron. Mark Richard Jensen. Sophie Johnson. Stephen Karyatsumari. Nashwalina Khan. Reem Veryal Khan. Matthew Lowry. Jennifer Kimberly Lyons. Melissa Teresa Maida. Patrick Marchison. Lamia Nabila Mellinger. Nicole Alyssa Mignano. Tahmina Minyas. Sarah Marie Montini. Carly Ann Mundell. Karina Angela Noyes. Kelsey Marie Orlando. Kevin Richard James Paget. Nathan Paquette. Jordan Ann Passmore. Matthew Robert Raffaelich. Victoria Marie Rakoczy. Madison Jane Reddy. Jody Susanna Royer. Vita Sciolentano. Michaela Marie Sewell. Carrie Lynn Stankovic. Jennifer Tamasuk. Jessica Rochelle Elizabeth Teenstra. Ashley Margaret Verbeek. Noah James Vrooman. Chi Chun Yip.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to introduce Mr. Nathan Baresh, who will be graduating with the degree Bachelor of Arts Honours in Religious Studies this afternoon. Nathan will now deliver the valedictory address.
Good morning, Chancellor Labarge, President Deane, faculty, staff, honored guests, and graduating class of 2016. My name is Nathan Barish, and I'm a graduating student in the Department of Religious Studies. It is a joy and honor to have the opportunity to speak to you today. As happy as I am to be here, I think my dog is even happier because he does not have to listen to me rehearsing anymore. It is hard to believe that our time at McMaster has come to an end. Over the past 4 years, there have been moments when it felt like time stood still, particularly during a night lecture when I somehow failed to complete the readings. On the other hand, time seemed to fly by, like when there's only 30 minutes left for an exam, but I was only halfway through. Despite the ups and the downs over the past 4 years, here we are, finally graduating from McMaster. Congratulations to everyone for making it to the start of your new beginning. I think we all owe a tremendous thank you to our family and friends who have loved us, encouraged us, and supported us on this journey. I know I certainly would not be here without mine. We have all traveled a different path to get to the top of this mountain. For some of you, that path might have been a nice straight line. But if you're anything like me, that path has been filled with wrong turns, dead ends, a few twisted ankles, and maybe just a bit of stress. Finally, here we are at the top though, and the view is spectacular. I still remember my first day on campus, with half my classes in Chester Newhall, and getting completely lost in the abyss that is otherwise known as the basement of Kenneth Taylor and Togo Salmon Hall. I was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and ready to take on the world. 4 years later, I'm a little slouched over, slightly sleep-deprived, I'm still trying to lose my freshman 15, and have spent a bit too much time binge-watching Netflix. One thing that still remains, though, is the desire and drive to take on the world. In the Faculty of Social Science here at McMaster, we've had the opportunity to learn about the world and its diverse inhabitants. It is an absolutely amazing world, but one look at the newspaper will tell you that it is a broken one as well. Graduates, what are we going to do about it? We have just spent 4 years and thousands of dollars studying to gain knowledge, but now it is time to apply it. I once heard that knowledge is the gathering in and collecting of information. The insight and ability to apply that knowledge, however, is wisdom. That is what we are now called to show. As Uncle Ben from Spider-Man wisely said, with great power comes great responsibility. We have just received an education that is the envy of many people around the world, and it is our responsibility to use that education wisely. The winter before coming to McMaster, I spent a month at an orphanage in India. While I was there, I interacted with young children who were able to easily complete the physics work I did when I was in high school. These children have the ability to do great things, but unfortunately, they may never have the opportunity to reach their full potential. Similarly, last summer I took my second trip to the island of Laganov in Haiti, where unemployment is over 80%. There are thousands of young people on Laganov who are bright, intelligent, and passionate about learning, but have never been given the opportunity to follow their dreams. Graduating class of 2016, we have been given that opportunity. We are leaving here today with more than just a diploma in our hands. We are leaving here today with a commission to take what we have learned and use it to make a difference in our world. What we do is going to be different for each of us, but we all have the capability of doing something great. A friend of mine has joked that being a university student is the perfect age because we are old enough to be on our own, but young enough to have limited responsibilities. But that is about to change. During a job interview last summer, I was asked the question, what does success mean to you? I feel that in university, success is often measured on an objective, tangible scale. We did well on this test, or we bombed this midterm. Success is often measured by our mark on Mosaic. I would like to suggest that perhaps success is not always an objective standard, but rather something each one of us needs to decide for ourselves. We've all been blessed with different skill sets, talents, and abilities, and it's up to us to put these to good use. I do not know everyone here, who you are, or what your story is, but I do know that you are special and unique. As Dr. Seuss once said, there's no one newer than you. Okay, I need to stop and make a bit of a confession. I tried to use "you're" once in an academic paper, but it didn't go so well. Note to self, just because Seuss is a doctor does not make him a respectable academic source. I would like to challenge each person here to put your McMaster-acclaimed critical thinking skills to good use and decide for yourself what success means to you. It is not what your parents say. It is not what your professors say. It is not what your boss says. It is what you decide in your heart it is. After you've decided, I challenge you to pursue it with everything inside of you. Graduates, let's not be afraid to take risks and to fail, but let's learn from our mistakes and keep moving forward. As the world-renowned philosopher and academic scholar Jerry Seinfeld once said, keep your head up in failure and down in success. Let's be humble when we succeed and never forget the fortunate position we have been placed in. In closing, I would like to leave you with a line I once heard. One day, your life will flash before your eyes, so make sure it is worth watching. Graduates, enjoy this day. Celebrate what you've accomplished, but take nothing for granted and look forward to what is ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. May I now call upon our President, Dr. Patrick Deane, who will present the President's Award of Excellence in Student Leadership.
Would Audrey Tan please come forward? Audrey Tan, a member of the class of 2016 in Health Studies and Gerontology, has accumulated an impressive list of academic honors during her time at McMaster. The partial inventory includes the Provost's Honor Roll Medal, the McMaster University Retirees Association Scholarship, the Ellen Ryan Scholarship, the H.L. Hooker Scholarship, and the University Scholarship. Just as impressive is Audrey's collection of awards that also account for her exceptional contributions to her campus and community. And these include the Albert Lager Prize for Student Initiative, the McMaster Social Sciences Society Student Leadership Award, the McMaster Honor M, and earning semi-finalist recognition for the Rhodes Scholarship. An active volunteer in the local community with organizations like Shalom Village and the Hamilton Council on Aging, Audrey has also been a busy student leader who has served as the social coordinator of the Hamilton McMaster Rotaract Club, an experiential education ambassador for the Faculty of Social Sciences, and a board member of the McMaster Campus Ministries Council. She served for 3 years as the president of the Health, Aging and Society Student Association and was also the founder and director of All That Glitters, an organization with a mission to raise awareness and funds for 2 community organizations, the Native Women's Center locally and the humanitarian organization ATSIN in Mexico. Audrey has also proven herself to be a promising researcher, having received an undergraduate student research award that allowed her to explore representations of older characters in children's literature. An extraordinary record. Congratulations, Audrey.
Thank you.
Really well done. What a pleasure. Yeah, we'll do a photo here. You can take that.
I'm pleased to announce the winner of the R.C. McIver Medal, which is awarded for outstanding academic achievement in the Faculty of Social Sciences. The winner of this award is Audrey Tan.
Congratulations, Audrey. May I now introduce Mr. Dennis Suter from the McMaster Alumni Association, who will deliver the Alumni Association address.
Chancellor Labarge, President Deane, McMaster faculty, fellow alumni, honored guests, and especially you, the members of the class of 2016. The first time we did this, now despite appearances, when I say we, I do not mean that I was personally there 122 years ago. There were 16 graduates. The events of commencement, as Convocation was known then, were a little different from today's ceremony. In 1894, the first Convocation included a sermon, which I could do but won't. The reading of the graduate thesis. Yes, they read them aloud, word for word. I don't know how they dealt with the footnotes, but also 60 honorary degrees. I don't think they had 60 honorary degree recipients making speeches. The black graduation gowns then were made of alpaca. That's wonderful to have when there's no air conditioning. Today, if you look it up, your gowns are made of stuff. Seriously, stuff is not just stuff. Stuff is a fabric. You can look it up. So they wore alpaca that were lined with white satinette for the arts degrees and lavender for graduates from theology. One of those graduates wearing alpaca was a young woman named Elizabeth Wells, and she later published a description of the ceremony in Canadian Magazine, one of those many publications that since died. In that article, she wrote of McMaster's first convocation, quote, "The enthusiasm shown by the students who sat massed in the body of the large assembly showed plainly that they were filled with the spirit of loyalty to their university," end quote. Now, whether 16 people in alpaca gowns comprise a mass, it's hard to say, but the feelings of enthusiasm and pride were likely valid observations, and I hope that you have similar feelings today. I know that I did when I finally graduated. Today, our university is very different from the McMaster Elizabeth Wells knew 122 years ago, and our institutional history and credentials are much more robust. I hope that your McMaster has earned your enthusiasm and loyalty through service, excellent leadership, and accomplishment, just as you've worked hard to earn our pride in you and our loyalty to you as you become the newest members of the Mac alumni family. The Alumni Association's goal is to take your connection to McMaster beyond the feelings that are so strong today and to help to make it into a lifelong connection of real substance. In your lives as alumni, the association will work to keep you connected. And I want to just throw in something else. The association just doesn't sit there. 22 years ago, when I was Alumni Association president, I was lucky to be giving the association address here in this forum and not in a gymnasium on campus. And that was partly because the Alumni Association gave great support and vocal support to the Students' Union when they asked to have the venue moved. And if you look at the McMaster Student Center, you'll see that the prime donor, number one donor for that center, was the Alumni Association. And likewise, we were very supportive in the construction of the Braley Center. So your association isn't just sitting there and giving you a list of things that are available for the future. We've been there trying to make your student experience better. In your lives of alumni, the association will work to keep you connected. You'll receive the McMaster Times Alumni Magazine. Yes, their magazines still exist, in print. The e-newsletter, Maroon Mail. You can be part of the association and the communities on Twitter, Facetube. Yeah, I did that last year, too. Yeah, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and whatever new forum comes along next year. As new grads, you can sample activities and opportunities for our MAC 10 program, a series of events and services including social activities, that'll go over well, career assistance, and online and in-person networking. We've also added a mentoring program that gives you access to the wisdom of hundreds of fellow MAC grads through a searchable database. Throughout your life, you can take advantage of value-added services. Now, this is the sales pitch here. Of value-added services like home, auto, and life insurance, mortgages. Our investment portfolio must be doing well if we're offering mortgages. Credit cards and travel services. You can also join your fellow alumni at one of hundreds of events we organize annually, not only in Hamilton, but across Canada, indeed around the world. There is a veritable plethora of information at alumni.mcmaster.ca and in the Convocation booklet that will come with your first issue of McMaster Times. The essential point is the McMaster Alumni Association and the MAC alumni family can be part of your McMaster experience in a big way or a small way. Whichever way you like it, when you want it, it's your choice. But wait, there's more. As an inducement for you to make a connection, the Alumni Association is running a contest to help you spread your wings after graduation. We're giving away, yes, we're giving away a $1,000 travel voucher and a host, I say, of other swag and tickets. Just go to alumni.mcmaster.ca to find the entry information. When you're ready, the McMaster Alumni Association will be there too. So to the class of 2016, I offer my most sincere congratulations on your academic accomplishments, on your graduation, and on your first moments as members of the Mac alumni community. You should be very proud of your accomplishments. We are. Congratulations and welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. May I invite Dr. Deane back to the podium to deliver his President's Address.
Graduates, ladies and gentlemen, there is one more speech before our proceedings today end, but before I embark on it, I'd like to invite Dr. Hill, who wishes to make a presentation to our Chancellor.
Thank you. Well, we're all getting our credentials from the university today, and that's really quite an achievement. Before there was a university, our ancestors always put their words into beads of wampum beads. They're very precious to us. These beads capture the memory, capture the words spoken over them. They were used by the French, the British, the Americans, and the Canadians to seal their bond and a relationship to us. So in honor of what happened here today, because I look at what was given to me is not so much about me, but it's recognizing the validity of Indigenous knowledge. And these wampum beads will remember that and commemorate that. So I'd like to present these to the Chancellor to honor McMaster's commitment to Indigenous studies, Indigenous knowledge. So if you could come forward, I appreciate it very much.
That was very generous of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hill. That is a very important moment in our institutional history. Graduates, both Nathan, your valedictorian, and Dr. Hill have spoken about education and the responsibilities of education, and not surprisingly, the use to which you should put your education after you leave this hall today. And I wanted to pick up on that theme, if I may. It's a theme which will be familiar to all of you as graduates of the Faculty of Social Science, and that is to underline something essential about the education you've received at McMaster and about education in general, and that is that learning is a profoundly social activity. We learn by dialogue with others, whether our interaction with them is electronic or through the pages of a textbook, or whether the other party in the dialogue exists as a professor, a mentor, a classmate, in some cases a character in a novel, perhaps. Education is impossible outside of society, just as society is impossible without education. The American philosopher and education reformer John Dewey made this point more than a century ago when he began with a simple declaration: "I believe that the school is primarily a social institution," he said. Dewey's progressive education movement held that education is not simply a social activity, but it is also importantly the agent of social reform. Dewey argued that the education system at the time, that is to say in the latter part of the 19th century in the United States, failed to recognize the school as a form of community life. This is what he said of education at the time. It's a quote. "It conceives the school as a place where certain information is to be given, where certain lessons are to be learned, or where certain habits are to be formed. The value of these is conceived as lying largely in the remote future. The student must do these things for the sake of something else he or she is to do. They are mere preparation. As a result," says Dewey, "they do not become a part of life experience of the student, and so are not truly educative." true education for Dewey is not preparation for life, but it is life itself. It is the driver of human progress and the critical means by which society is made and continually remade. Dewey articulated this in 1897 in a document called My Pedagogic Creed, which is still relevant today. Universities continue to insist that their mandate is not simply to provide vocational training, but to educate citizens actively to shape society. So it is no coincidence that Dewey is heavily cited in a 2013 report to the European Commission, which seeks to reimagine post-secondary education on humanistic principles, and by so doing contribute to Europe's social and economic renewal. Now, education may be a powerful agent of social reformation, but if it only reinforces an existing framework, it becomes the enemy of progress and reform. 50 years of apartheid in South Africa was facilitated by formidable police and military forces inside the country, of course, but education was the real and most effective tool of oppression. That is why the Soweto riots of 1976, which began the movement towards democratic reform in that country, started with school children protesting against an alien language of instruction. Here in Canada, the legacy of the residential school system has also proven how the power of education can be turned to destructive purposes, to advance the cultural hegemony and political control of one group over another. Society made homogeneous through suppression, extermination, or assimilation is not society as Dewey imagined it, nor does it comprise a model that can be called education in any real sense. It is forced acculturation using the apparatus of education. Interestingly, the genesis of Canada's residential school system coincides historically with the emergence of the progressive education movement south of the border. The Mohawk Indian Residential School opened nearby in Brantford in 1831, but it was in the latter half of the 19th century that the system took shape and the policy that drove it became apparent. After the Constitution Act of 1867, Canada formally adopted a policy of assimilation, and the Nicholas Flood Davin report 12 years later declared, in language that is still shocking today, that, quote, the aim of education is to destroy the Indian. Duncan Campbell Scott, Superintendent of Indian Affairs in the Canadian government from 1913 to 1932, spoke of the need, quote, to get rid of the Indian problem. Continuing the process of acculturation, he said, until there is not a single Indian in Canada that has not been absorbed into the body politic, and there is no Indian question and no Indian department. So in 1920, Scott drafted an amendment to the Indian Act, making it mandatory for all Native children between 7 and 15 to attend school, and attendance at residential schools became compulsory. This curious contrast shows that even where there is a consensus that education has the power to shape society, it does not follow that the inevitable outcome of education is democracy, enlightenment, and the realization of human potential. You have to work at these things. If our country is to right the wrong caused by the residential school system and evolve as it should, education must be returned to its Dewey-esque purpose and become actively engaged in social reform. It must work to bring us all into what might be called a commonwealth of knowledge, infinitely rich and complex, admitting diverse perspectives and epistemologies because of the infinite richness and complexity of our society. It is little wonder that so many of the calls to action in the 2015 report of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, of which you heard from Dr. Hill earlier on, directly address education. 6 of these calls to action seek to redress the immediate legacy of the residential schools by reforming the funding and administration of education for Indigenous young people and counteracting the alienation of students from their heritage. Many others address the need to educate non-Indigenous Canadians about Indigenous issues, especially those in public roles and the beneficiaries of public education, whose own education, whether they know it or not, gives them the power to shape our society. Thus, doctors, nurses, journalists, and lawyers are all enjoined to acquire the intercultural competency to make them agents, active agents, of a new Canada founded not on exclusivity, coercion, and force, but on inclusivity. As Indigenous educator Roberta Jameson recently noted in the Toronto Star, to make reconciliation work, non-Indigenous Canadians will have to invest time. It is a scandal that for nearly a century, our country turned education to the diabolical purpose of destroying the Indian. For all who cherish their work as educators, this is cause for indignation, great grief, and regret. But today, with all of you gathered here, is a moment of great promise. Graduates, you've been nurtured at McMaster in a tradition of progressive education. You've acquired not just the information necessary to perform a particular task valuable to our economy, but knowledge and wisdom derived more broadly from our communal life and therefore potentially transformative of our society. And the point of celebrating your success, as we have done today, is to underline the extent to which your individual achievements are also social achievements. This is a communal event because the meaning, quality, and richness of our life together on this planet is ultimately the point of education. For that reason, this physical place is highly significant. It is literally the ground of our coming together and the emblem of our deeper commonality, kinship, and shared aspirations. It is decorated with flags and other emblems derived from an iconography which many of us share. Yet our obligation as educators must be to grow in dialogue with other iconographies and histories, not blindly, indiscriminately, or sentimentally, but as thinking, feeling, complete human beings. Education thrives on the sheer abundance of our existence. I will end where at future convocations I intend us to start, by recognizing and acknowledging that we meet on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and Haudenosaunee nations and within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. To say that is to acknowledge a debt to those who are here before us, and also to speak against those teachers, clerical and secular, whose project over nearly a century was to alienate peoples from their history and culture, and to make of the educational process the very antithesis of what it ought to have been. I could not be more proud to stand with you all in this meeting place, pondering just what, moving on from here, you will be able to do with our society and our world. Good luck. Thank you.
Congratulations to the class of 2016. And Mr. Souter eloquently said, you're now graduates and members of a wonderful group of alumni. And as a fellow McMaster alumna, I'm really looking forward to seeing where you go from here. Dr. Hill, congratulations on your accomplishments, and thank you for your contribution to our culture. And I appreciate the gift of the wampum bag and recognize it as a bond, not only a personal one, but also an institutional one. And as I think we've heard from Dr. Deane, it's one that we understand and intend to honor. So thank you. Dr. Deane, you've given us a lot to think about, not only where we're going, but also what education can do, both for good and for bad. And I just want to look back and say, as an alumna, after 40 years, I really don't remember anything I learned here. What you find, but what I do know, is what I did learn here provided the foundation of everything I've learned ever since. And the critical thinking skills that your valedictorian talked about have stood me in good stead throughout all my life. And so what we've got here is a base that we build on. And I will recommend that after, you might want to keep a copy of President Deane's address, because when you reach that point in life, which you will when you say, why did I spend 4 years there? You can pull out and remember, it wasn't just to learn specifics. It was to be broadened in terms of your acceptance and willingness to accept new ideas. And the other thing that I remember still from my time here is coming out of my nice little cocoon of the family in Ottawa and coming to McMaster. And now, it was nowhere near as diverse a university, obviously, in my time as it is today. But nevertheless, I got to meet people I never would have met otherwise. I got to exchange ideas in a safe environment that I never would have run across before. And it is that has helped me and allowed me to grow within our society as our society has become more diverse. And I wish the same for all of you. And as we look at what happened in Orlando in the last few days, you understand the importance of this. And so, as a fellow alumni, I really would like to challenge you to make sure that we continue with this tradition at McMaster, that you hold our feet to the fire and administration's feet to the fire at all times, to be able to provide this educational experience that you've received to future generations. Now, I know that all of you have parties to go to and pictures to take, so I'm going to stop there and just wish you all the best in the future. I have just a couple of housekeeping items to tell you about before we close. Immediately following the ceremony, a reception will be held for the graduates and their guests in the Hamilton Convention Center, Wentworth Rooms B and C. Flowers that have been delivered for the graduates will be available at the coat check in the main lobby. I would ask that you please remain standing at your seats until the academic procession and the graduates have left the hall. Finally, please join now in the singing of our national anthem. After the singing of the anthem, this convocation stands adjourned.